side, I am just missing those days when we used to, hang out in the DLF mall and we used to shop together, go for shopping, go for the eating out. Do you remember those days, ma'am?
Oh yes, it looks like once upon a time we used to go and hang out together. These days we see empty lanes, and what to say, it's a dreadful time. And I agree with you, but I am also even missing the school, the meetings with principal ma'am, and in our cubicles, how our heads have been taking our meetings. I'm missing all of that as well. What do you say?
Yeah, same here. I think, ma'am, our students will also agree with that. They must also be missing their live classes, and they must also be missing up their, interaction with their friends in the canteen, eating momos, canteen rolls, and all
Oh
that.
yes, definitely the spring rolls have been their favorite. They must be recalling when we are mentioning that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, ma'am. Some of the students must be saying, ma'am, please, yaad mat dilao. Exactly.
Absolutely. Agree with you.
Right. But what is the difference between these two interactions? When actually students, when you are interacting with your friends in the informal way, and maybe even in the classroom when no teacher is around, you are having or interacting in informal basis. So that's where the role of informal organization comes up. But as soon as the teachers enter the classroom, basically you move on to the formal structure or the infrastructure. Now, to just quickly explain you the formal and informal organization in a crux, let me just give you a small example. Accountancy class. Remember your accountancy class. When the ma'am is writing on the board, you are very attentive. You are just noticing it down. When your homeroom teacher is giving you the instructions, you're noticing it down, and you know that everything has to go in writing. But when you are talking among your friends, do you always write anything in writing? You said, give it to me in writing. You never talk to your friends in that way. So that is the difference between formal and informal structure or the organization. Looking here in the meaning of the formal organization structure, again, which is being designed or created deliberately by the management, right? See, remember, when you come to class 11th, your sections are being divided. Do you create that sections? No, they are being deliberately created. Who creates that? The school authorities. So that is formal structure. But whenever in the canteen, during the break time, you move to the other section, you move to the science section, or even the other commerce section, meeting your friends, that's the informal organization which created spontaneously. Moving upon to the features of the formal organization. Please don't blame me for this. I am a die-hard Shah Rukh fan, and all those lovely girls who also like Shah Rukh's, here is for you. The feature for the formal organization, DAR. DAR. Now, what does DAR here means? DAR means the organization which is deliberately created, D, and where the authority and responsibility has been clearly defined. A. R. Where the responsibility has been fixed, where the responsibility of the work which is to be done has been completely fixed upon the people, and people are made accountable for the same. Now, when I move to the importance or the advantages of the formal organization, I am at very fun. You can look at this beautiful smiley. So whenever you see this smiley, you remember this advantages of formal organization, which says fun sa. Although there is not very much fun in the formal structure, but still, just to learn the advantages. So F here is fixation of responsibility. Very important. Since everything goes in writing, you can always catch up on the person who has done the mistake. U here stands for unity of command. Remember chapter 2, unity of command, one person, one boss giving the orders. N here, no ambiguity. There should be no confusion. You must be very clear whatever is being taught to you by the authorities. S here is stability. Yes, it is more stable organization in terms of informal organization. And A here is definitely this organization has been deliberately created to achieve or attain the objectives of the organization. When we move on to the disadvantages, the key word, is very, very, very simple. It is dim. When I talk about negative, when I talk about the demerits, it is dim. Dim means delay in action. Yes, because everything has to form or flow through the hierarchy. There has to be a scalar chain communication. I is whatever is being done, whatever is being said, it happens. M, more difficult to understand the human relationship. Yes, because for human relationship we have a separate organization which is being created spontaneously out of the formal setup. So moving on to the next slide here. Now we'll talk about the informal organization. Again, I'll repeat, social interaction. You know, when we move to a party, when we go out with your friends, we become the people who are good in making friends. They can understand it much better way. Social interaction, you make new friends, you talk to them. There is no authority, there is no responsibility, there is no way in which you need to communicate with each other. You don't say to each other, no, you give it to me this in writing, or you give it to me with your signature placing the date. No, because it's an informal setup. See here, we'll move on to the features of the informal setup here. So when we talk about the features of the informal setup, we have the keyword. Okay, the informal setup is basically which originates from the formal organization. Informal is which is originating from the formal organization, and basically the behavior is as per the group norms. Now you understand this, always remember the naughty people or the naughty children of your class. Their behavior is basically directed by their group norms. The studious people, the studious students, जिनको हम front bencher, we call them front benchers also, right? So their behavior is as per their group norms. So behavior is basically evolving from the group norms of the people. Then there is no definite structure here, and it is spontaneous. Again, we are repeating, and there is independent channel of network here. Moving on to the advantages of the informal organization. See, now before we move on to the advantage, we need to see this video here. Please see this video and enjoy. So basically here, this video wanted to show us that sometime to give us a break, we need to enjoy. We need to give ourselves a little breather, even working in the formal structure. So here comes the merit of the informal organization. Remember CFS statement you all must have prepared on 5th of March. Last question of the accountancy paper, prepare cash flow statement. So whenever you look at the word CFS, remember the merits of informal organization. It says C stands here for the correct feedback. Correct feedback. Definitely, you will get a genuine feedback when you are talking to the person heart to heart. So you are able to get the correct feedback from the managers when we are talking about the informal organization. Here, F stands for two options. Because see, we are human beings. We are living in the society. So our social needs has to be satisfied. So to satisfy the social needs and to support the formal organization, informal organization plays a very, very, very important role. Again, here F stands for fast communication. You remember when you see the arrangement list, which teacher is absent, it is very, very quick. Before the timetable people put up the list, you always knows who will come for the arrangement, right? So fast communication. Yes.
Even I would like to add an example here, Neeti ma'am, about fast communication. When there is a message regarding homework, ma'am, we didn't receive the message. We didn't know about it. But when a message is passed to one bacha about the holiday, tomorrow is a holiday, everybody knows. Nobody reaches school by any chance, isn't it? So, yeah. Well, definitely. The communication is very fast and informal, but selective communication, isn't it?
Yeah, ma'am, because there is no structure, there is no deliberate structure, so they choose what is to communicate and what is
Absolutely.
not to communicate. Absolutely. Thank you, Vidhi ma'am, for adding this wonderful example. So these are the merits of the informal organization. Moving on to the demerits, Vidhi ma'am, quickly we'll move on to the slides. Yeah, it's demerits. It's spread rumors. Yes, grapevine. So we all know, and it may bring sometimes the negative results. Sometimes the negative results means a fast false information may move. And it is more focused on the individual interest. You know, these COVID-19 situation, what is the mostly conversation going on in every household is that, do we get the salary this time? Are they going to pay in the full? Are they going to pay the half? Everyone is talking about his own interest. Nobody is talking about the entire organization, the workplace they are working, what is their situation and how are they going to arrange the funds and how are they going to arrange the resources. So nobody is talking about the organizational interest. Everyone is talking about their own individual interest. So moving on to the next slide here. Demerits. After demerits, we'll see the quick comparison of formal and informal organization. So again, we can see here the flow of communication. Please remember, informal, it is scalar chain. We use the scalar chain. And in informal organization, you better remember the flow of the communication. There is no flow. Basically, there is no line of communication when we are talking on the informal basis. Okay, so I think till here the chapter is clear and you must be able to at least recall the terms which we have discussed with you, because the idea for taking this chapter is to make you learn right here with us. Over to you, Nidhi ma'am, for the question answer round.
Yes. Please also take the strategic use of informal organization. Or I'll explain this. See, you will all agree, beta, that the informal organization is inherent in the formal organization. You know, when we deal, you would agree that all the people who are working together are there with each other for a very long period of the day, maybe almost half the day or more than that, they're spending together. So a lot of interaction takes place. Some of it relates to the organization and some of it also relates to their personal lives. And in a way, in this journey, two persons or a group of persons become friends, right? But so that means we can say that formal and informal organization go hand in hand. They exist together. But is informal organization good for the health of the organization? Definitely yes. Think about it. You are the manager and you brought a change. You are planning that, you know, for the upcoming order, we need to work for 1 hour extra. If you actually float it in this way in a formal meeting, there might be certain people who would be against it and who would not want to adhere to it, and they might just create a ruckus because of this. But ultimately, if you share this in a general party, you know, and you announce that there are some additional benefits, and in the pipeline, whoever performs best in pressure might get another hike in the salary structure or any such advantage you attach to it. When you were having a party, you were in a good mood, right? So there is a advantage of having informal organization. So this particular question that we are discussing, children, has been asked in the board exam for as high as a 5-marker question. And it clearly indicated what heading you see on your screen: strategic use of informal organization, or why informal organization cannot be eliminated. Your answer can be, because this, you do not find this answer as it is in NCERT. This has been picked up from the various points of the explanation of informal only. So that means if you make up of for any particular point which is sensible, which is logical, will make up for your answer. And we all know that we have to include those many points as the number of marks. So here are some 5 points. I am reading them out for you to know that you already know all of them. So the knowledge of informal organization can be used to support the employees. Grapevine can bring important information quickly. and informal groups can skillfully take advantage of both formal and informal. We go on adding more points. So like I see hands raised, 35 hands are raised right now. So you are indicating, and the number is only rising, that yes, you know and you've understood. Let's move ahead to the question section. From the portion that has been just discussed, let's look up at these questions. So name the organization structure which originates to satisfy the social needs. The moment we see the word social, the question is asking structure. Clear answer, of course, is informal organization. Wonderful. Keep answering, keep telling yourself you all have understood, you know this. Name the type of organization in which structure of jobs is created with clearly defined functions, authority, and responsibility. Now, when you answer this, of course, we know the answer. Formal it is. All right. Next question. Which kind of organization has a network of social relationship? Spontaneously they appear due to interaction. Now I don't go and say somebody please become my friend. You just happen to connect. There is a vibe to vibe connection, isn't it? Many of you have your best friends whom you met recently, and you don't even remember now how you connected and what exactly happened and how this chemistry was formed. But today you make best of friends, so it emerges spontaneously. Of course, yes, the answer is informal organization. Moving ahead, like I said, the multiple choice questions, please make sure that you write the part, as well as try your best, if time permits, even write the answer related to it, the particular part. And in this slide, beta, particularly we have put this word not in bold letters and in a bigger font, but that's not how the question will appear in your question paper. This will be like will be a normal font only, but you have to concentrate and look for it, whether the question is asking you for a demerit or the question is asking you something which is not a demerit, right? So it's wonderful to see all those hands raised. I'm just reading the question quickly. Which of the following is not a demerit of informal organization? Go by discarding method. Do not go by your first instinct, leads to spreading of rumors. Yes, of course. Gives more importance to structure and work. Really? It may restrict implementation of changes. It puts psychological pressure on members to conform. So we have a long list, and I see 105 hands raised. And definitely B part, there is no structure or something. So definitely, because it does not talk about structure, it cannot be a demerit as well. All right, let's move ahead with one more question. And this is a bold question, as you can see. And again, I have our team has particularly highlighted what you need to read first. What is that? The last line. Identify the type of and his team in finalizing the suggestion. Okay, what helped? What type of organization which helped? That's the question. Let's read the question to understand this. Ravi Jain was the chief executive officer of Nath Traders. He was worried about the heavy expenditure on advertising. He asked his finance manager, Mohit Verma, to know the views of sales manager and his team regarding this expenditure. Mohit Verma was thinking of calling a meeting and his team after tea break, but by chance, at the time of tea break only, Mohit Verma met the sales manager and his team, and they all discussed and they could give suggestions also. So he was not required to bring up any meeting. So which type of organization has helped them? I see again all those hands raised. The number is only increasing. Wonderful, bachas. Very good. Keep up the work. Definitely, the answer is informal because they met at the tea shop during the tea break. The place is important. You are not boss and employee in that hour. You are just friends. And you say anything and you suggest anything. That's the beauty of informal organization. All right, wonderful. Applaud, kudos to all of you. And now it's time to switch to Neeti ma'am. Yes, dear Neeti ma'am.
I think maybe we should give them a round of applause because they have
Definitely.
done and performed wonderfully. So let's do it together for all those who are writing the answers. Awesome. You are an awesome audience. Wonderful. You know, Nidhi ma'am, what happened recently with me, you know, before taking up the delegation, I just recalled one incident that happened to me, and my student shared it with me. A very nice girl, Nandika. She was
Okay.
having her birthday and she was planning a birthday party, and somehow that girl, trusting his friend Raghav, and she gave him a duty to just invite the guests to the birthday party.
Okay.
And you know what Raghav has done, Nidhi ma'am? He forgot to invite her best friend, who is from the other section, Ananya, to that birthday party. And the party went well. Next day, when Nandika went to the school, and when Ananya came to know that Nandika gave the birthday party, and she got really very furious, and Nandika was really having the tough time, you know, to console her friend and tell her that it is not her fault. Do you really think that it is not Nandika's fault? Are you really sure that it is not Nandika's fault?
You should know what are her friends, who all are her friends. Why he did this?
Actually, Nidhi ma'am, you are very right. It is the Raghav's fault. But you know, when we give certain tasks to someone, when I talk about the next topic, you will understand that it is not the Raghav fault. Is everyone answer is the same? It is not his fault. It is Nandika's fault. To explain you why, I'll move on to my next topic, that is delegation of authority. You know, here Nandika has delegated her task of inviting the guest to his friend Raghav, trusting him, giving him the authority to calling all the friends. But then ultimately, the accountability for calling up of the friends and making ensure that everyone receive the invites lies on Nandika only. So the same goes in the organization. Beta, remember, delegation. What does delegation means? If you see here, it means the transfer of authority from the superior to the subordinate, and basically it is defining the authority line of the subordinate. But the delegation of authority cannot abdicate the manager from his responsibilities. Remember, when we think of delegation, when we talk about delegation, there should be three words that should strike in your mind immediately. One, authority. Second, responsibility. And the third one is accountability. So we'll move on to the delegation here. The definition is very beautiful definition which is given by Theo Heyman again, very famous Mr. Theo Heyman. So learn organizing, all the definitions given by Theo Heyman only. It says delegation means granting of authority to the subordinates to operate within a prescribed limits. Apart from authority, it always also include interesting responsibilities. Next, we'll move on why this delegation of authority is important. But before that, we'll move on to the elements of the delegation, which we have just discussed with that example. So here, delegation is equal to, if we make an equation, it is equal to authority plus responsibility plus accountability. Moving on to the first element here, authority, right? Who will have the authority in the organization? Who have the authority at your home? Definitely the eldest member of the family have the authority. So the same here, the topmost level have the authority, which goes downward. Have you ever seen a subordinate giving the instruction to the superior, or it is the other way around? So what is the flow of authority? The flow of authority is from top level to the next subsidiary levels. Then what is it is being doing? It is basically determining the superior subordinate relationships in the organization. And as we go up hierarchically in the organization, the authority increases, right? Moving on to the next element here, which is responsibility. Responsibility. Let's own up this responsibility. There's a very beautiful quote on your slide. Please look at it. Let's own up this responsibility of making this world a beautiful place. At least each of us can play a little bit of part in this. Let's link responsibility to the organization. As the dictionary meaning says, it is obligation. Now, to whom you are responsible? Again, the person who has given you the authority, the person who has given you the task of performing a particular job. And definitely, the boss is not responsible to the subordinate. The subordinate is responsible to the boss or the superior. So, responsibility flows upward. Got it? Authority flows downward, responsibility flows upward. Then responsibility doesn't come alone. It is always comes along with accountability. Moving on to the accountability, which means answerability. Yes, you are accountable. You only are accountable for your deeds. So here, basically, the answerability. To whom you are answerable. Yes, Nidhi ma'am, you have another example here?
Yes, one thing that comes to my mind, we all have commerce students, and this word accountability comes to my mind. The many of us here are the budding CAs, the chartered accountants. So this chartered accountant is accountable when he stamps the books of any company and he says that these books of accounts are true and they are correct. And when something goes wrong, he and his firm is answerable. Why? How is this wrong now? So definitely accountability can be linked to chartered accountants in our mind, which means being answerable.
Thank you, Nidhi ma'am. Moving back to the example which we quoted just before starting the delegation. So I think now everyone must be clear why Nandika is accountable. Because she is the one who has to ensure that everyone gets the invite. So it is not the Raga who is to be blamed, it is the Nandika who is to be blamed in our example. So that is the another element of delegation of authority, that is accountability. So I think the elements are clear to everyone. Now we move on why delegation of authority is important for the organization. This is a tabular representation which is also given in the NCERT about authority, responsibility and accountability, which we have discussed just now. So moving on to the importance of delegation. Oh my God, where this person MDH has come from? You know what? Now next time whenever you go to the kitchen, whenever you see this uncle, a very lively uncle who is always associated with the MDH, who is he? You know who is he? He's the CEO of MDH. So whenever you see the MDH masala in your kitchen pantry, please remember we are talking about the importance of delegation. Now see how it is linked. The keyword for learning the importance of delegation is MDH CEO. See here M stands for motivation of employees. See, you know what, when I used to explain this motivation of employees with a very sweet and short example, remember the first time when you wear your own school uniform yourself without the help of your mom, when you wear your first tie, when you wear your first something which have not been given to you before, and you feel, yes, now I have grown up. That feeling of grown up come up, you know, and the feeling of responsibility also come up simultaneously. The same goes with the employees, beta. At the end, we all are human beings. Whenever you give a different task with an additional responsibility, it boosts up the morale of the employees. So from the MDH, M here refers to motivation of employees. Then here D refers to the next slide here. After motivation of employees, employee development, or you can learn it in a way, development of employee. Definitely, when you are being given some task which you are not used to of doing it, So it leads to the development. It leads to the development both in the terms of personality also, and both in terms of taking up the higher positions. Now, delegation makes the employees capable with the help of the training to take up the higher positions. Then here H stand for basis of management hierarchy. Now, what is this hierarchy? We all know, we have studied in chapter number 1, levels of management, top level, middle level, lower level. We have already done that. So delegation of authority basically established the relationship between superior and subordinate. I wanted to emphasize here, beta, when I am talking about superior to subordinate, I am talking about his immediate subordinate. Remember, I have not used the word here subordinates. I'm saying between the superior and his immediate subordinate. So that's how the hierarchy keep on forming. Then here, C stands for, the next option is better coordination. It helps because you have already defined the responsibilities, you have already defined the duties, you have already given the authorities. So there is a sense of coordination because the duplication of the efforts is being avoided at the end of the organizational level. So then E here stands for the next point for importance of delegation, effective management. Yes, since now the top level management is quite free, taking up or focusing on the main aspect or taking up on more the policy strategic decisions, the management is quite effectively managed, or decisions are being taken at the lower level and the middle level by the management. And O, and the last point in the point of importance here stands for facilitation of growth. So we have taken O from the word growth here. So definitely when the firm is delegating the task, when they are training their managers, they are keeping a scope for the expansion. They are keeping a scope for the diversification also here. So that's how, remember, for delegation of authority, now you should not be afraid, ma'am, we are not able to learn the keywords, we are not able to learn the importance. Whenever you look at that ad of MDH, you remember we are talking about the delegation only. Moving on to the next slide here, facilitation. Now, okay, so over to you, Nidhi ma'am, for centralization and decentralization.
Thank you, Neeti ma'am. Moving ahead, children, talking about centralization. So we have the word here, dot. This dot is the full stop. This dot can be dot, dot, dot when you say, when you want to show that you are thinking. But here it just means decision making at top. When decision making is with the top level management, we call it centralization, and it is actually correct, or we can say it is suitable for a smaller organization where all the decision making can be taken up by one person or a sole proprietor kind of a situation. But actually, when the level of organization goes on increasing, it's time to decentralize, which means what? Let's look up. We have a keyword which talks about decentralization also, and that word is spread. The first word that comes to my mind when I read this word spread is cheese spread. Most of us love that, isn't it? Amul cheese spread, utterly butterly delicious is what comes to my mind when I read of Amul. Here, what does spread mean? Decision making spread. Spread here means dispersed. Dispersed is that keyword for all of you to remember. That as soon as you find this word in the case study, there is nothing to be confused of. The topic that we've picked up just now, that is delegation versus decentralization, please remember, you will clearly find words. You will find words which tell you whether it's a delegation or a decentralization. So like Neeti ma'am told you, the word was subordinate, E, one person. And here the word is dispersal. So the moment you find the word dispersal systematically, it means We're talking about decentralization. Okay, what else does it hold in store? Now the keyword for importance of decentralization. Now you know what? When I read this word freedom, what comes to my mind? We all have our set of favorite songs, isn't it? And what favorite song is that? What comes to your mind? Now when you think about freedom and you think of that last line, we want freedom. In that rhythm, it means importance of decentralization, and we have facilitation of growth as what we stand, which begins with F. Let's take this up. So F stands for facilitates growth. Of course, this one is one common point, beta, between delegation and decentralization. As you would agree that when we decentralize, we are giving the authority to all the levels to make the decisions. When we delegate, I am giving the authority, I am just passing on some work to my immediate subordinate. Okay, in both the cases, whether it was delegation or it was decentralization, in both the cases we grow as a person, we face new situations, we make new decisions, and when we do that, as when a similar situation arises in the later future, we have grown up, we can make better decisions. So just like you see in this picture, this water here is the water of faith, trust. Okay, and when you get that from your seniors, you grow in terms of belief in your own self. Just like we all, this team CTF believes in all of you that you're going to do wonders in your business studies board examination. Of course you all will grow. With every passing webinar, you're going to do wonders. Okay, moving ahead. R stands for relief to top management. Look at this beautiful, cute face. This smiley expression. When manager has tons of works to do and that work is shared with someone else, has been taken off from this word develops. This double E stands for develops initiative. You know, when I start taking decisions, I want to take more decisions. I am so happy taking decisions. So that's how initiative comes into picture. We have developed, tend to develop initiative when it is decentralization taking place. Okay, that was double E. D now stands for decision making. As you would agree that, you know, if it is a centralized system, that means for every little thing, I need the permission of my senior most person. I will keep waiting. I have to wait for the nod. Unless we get that yes, we cannot perform. Do you remember that movie Parmanu? Remember that nuclear test done by John Abraham? Last day, he's about to do that test, but he was waiting for the permission from the Prime Minister. Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji is in a meeting with the one of the this American president, and how in a coded language they receive that facts, and then ultimately they are able to do that task. So that was centralization. That was an important decision. They could not decide it themselves. Okay, but here we are saying quick decision making, which means I can at on my own level make the decisions quickly, and that's the why it's a advantage. Next is better control. Definitely yes. The picture says cost control. I would say everything is. We become more responsible, and hence we are saying that the control is better. All right, and finally we have develops managerial talent for future. You know, there is a quote that I read about delegation, though it is delegation is a very small price that organizations pay for a longer perspective success. You know, it might happen with reference to delegation that people might go wrong. They might do things incorrectly, but ultimately they get prepared. And particularly in case of decentralization, when I, as a manager, I am answering everything, I am in control, I am the in charge. I don't need permissions. I am the one who's quickly making decisions. So whenever there is a time for some upgradation, there is some new subsidiary that is opening up, whenever this happens, then I will be promoted. So because during this journey, my managerial talent was developed. Well, so that was freedom taken up as importance of decentralization. We are comparing delegation and decentralization here. These points have been taken up directly from NCERT. Please keep them handy, keep them in your mind. And you know all of these points already very clearly, you are knowing. And definitely we can take up a few of these points for our discussion. It's like freedom of action. Of course, uh, there is more freedom in decentralization and less freedom in delegation, because the control is in the hands of superiors in case of delegation, while we are quickly deciding everything in case of decentralization. Okay, and if I talk about purpose, the lesser burden it is, and in case of that is reducing the burden of managers. But decentralization, the purpose is to increase the role of subordinates so that they take up the responsibility of their decisions. They can be held accountable for all that they're doing. So this needs to be taken care of. That's why we want to decentralize. And please remember, the most important part is the nature. Please look up here, everybody. The nature here is delegation is compulsory. If any person decides to do everything on their own, oh my God, yes, only God can help that person, because it is practically not possible to do everything on your own. You need to delegate, you have to delegate, and that's why we are saying it is compulsory. But decentralization is optional. It depends on the kind of organization, on the size of organization, and accordingly only this one takes place. Moving ahead to the questions. This is our last section of questions, talking about some of these uh, 1-mark questions to begin with. Read the last line first. Identify the concept of management discussed above. Like I said, this concept word is deadly because we need to know from which context, which side of the organization, what exactly is being asked. We don't know. So we need the answer from within the case study. National Ritech Limited has grown in size. It has a market leader, but with changes in business environment and with the entry of MNCs, its market share is declining. To cope up with the situation, the CEO starts delegating. We got the word delegation here. Some of his authority to the general manager, who also felt himself overburdened, and with the approval of CEO disperses. Now that's where the things need your attention, beta. I found the word delegation. This is a board question that we're talking about, and there was so much confusion. What is the answer? But I got the word disperses. So with the approval of CEO, he dispersed some of his authority at various levels throughout the organization. So discard the word delegating, stick to the word dispersal, and hence with all those hands raised, of course, the answer is decentralization. All right, question number 2 with reference to this. Name the term used for downward transfer of authority from a superior to a subordinate, considered as a prerequisite to the efficient functioning of an enterprise. Now the word is subordinate, like Neeti ma'am pointed out. Look for this word, and S is really important. Not many subordinates, one subordinate only, And that's why our answer here with all those hands raised, 75 in number, delegation is the perfect answer. Absolutely correct. Kudos to all of you. Keep working, keep answering. Moving ahead. Identify the concept again. We got the word authority. The authority word should be ringing the bell in your mind. It is from the chapter organizing, but granting of authority within the prescribed limits. Now, what is the answer? Look it up. Come on, you can do it. The hands raised number is less than 100. Why, bhai? Where are all of you? Come on. Good going. Now I see that number rising. And check your answer. The answer is delegation. This word prescribed limits helps you reach the answer because actually the power is unlimited. They become power rangers, when they are in decentralization. So limited power will be delegation. Another thing to remember for you. Next question is importance of delegation. Okay. What was the keyword for importance of delegation? What was that? Huh? Wasn't that MCD? This MDH CEO? So think of the keyword in your mind. Again, I see those 100 hands raised. Wonderful. Looks like I'm racing and there's a car, in which I am with the speed more than 100. Develops managerial talent for future is the correct importance. Wonderful. Keep up your good work. The next in the list is, okay, a long length case study. All right, like we discussed earlier. Before I move on to my questions, it's a request to all of you. In the chat section, you will find the feedback form link. Also, there is a link to a Google form, which you can do at your own speed, at your own pace. You can just keep the link handy. You can preserve that link and you can answer the questions. That's a practice of 1 mark questions, wonderfully made by our team organizing, all those among us who were there together for this particular session. So please add the feedback form for us to know how exactly was the session, and even we would look forward to your feedback as well as to improve the upcoming sessions. All right. So looking up and reading the question before, identify and state the concept. Okay. And quoting the lines. Now, children, please note down this one. Quoting lines has been continuously asked. So do not get hassled. We don't have to write the whole thing. Of course not. What we need to write, just choose the line that you want to write. Write the first few words, dot, 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 last few words, and that is enough. But be reasonable, be logical, look for the keywords, and then you answer. So I'm reading this case study for you. Super Touch is a progressive company which has achieved new records in the field of... Wonderful. Thank you for raising hands. Recently, the company decided to go for a major shift in policy decision. The toll is rising. 100 hands raised again. Let me read. Come on, have patience. Okay, within 4 months, the positive results of major policy decision was recognizable. The employees felt a lot of development. Development is a keyword here. In their skills to take steps to manage the things on their own. Wonderful. Some other newspapers also covered this news. The production of the company increased. The company's top management could now focus on new areas of innovation as the employees could be banked upon. One day it so happened that a country's manufacturing branch in North could not fulfill even half of its production target. Operation manager was held answerable. He was called and he was questioned. Okay, the management decided to listen to him and he was given more power. When he went to shop floor, he told the workers the standard of behavior of manufacturing the units should come from the official rules and procedures. Now, what is highlighted, and then the concept, and then also the lines to be quoted. So let's look up all these 104 hands raised. Just look up at your answer. What is your answer? It is decentralization. Which lines tell you that? Just like it appears on your screen, recently and level of employees, just like this, you can mention the dot, dot, dot thing. You can go on writing. And then what else is the answer? We have to tell about the importance, develops initiative, the lines need to be quoted. Also, managerial talent had come up. I told you that was a keyword. And then the employees things on their own. And okay, so all right. So that was one set of question. I am just going to wait for you all for a few more seconds because I want to know from you how exactly you have been doing. Please make sure that you are listening and you are putting up the feedback also. And we need to know how exactly you've done and how exactly was the session. We need to be answerable to each one of us. And we have purposely saved these 10 minutes to just talk to you, to remind you of how wonderful beings you are. Your belief in you plays the most important role in your life, not just this exam. You need to believe in you. That's the most important thing. Tell yourself, I am the best. I am wonderful. I am awesome. These are the words that should come to your mind. Does not matter how you've done in pre-boards, what happened earlier. You could learn, you could not learn, right? You have to tell yourself that you are just super beings, right?
Yes. So kudos to all of you, and you should remember one thing, beta. There is one particular thing which keeps the spirit high, and that is gratitude also. So pay gratitude to all those teachers, all those people who are into this organization, who have made this setup actually to help you to understand and to learn and to revise these concepts. And as a team Magic, we are grateful to you as a wonderful audience to being with us as a wonderful students. Please remember that coming back to the original quote, Nidhi ma'am, which you shared in the beginning, they need to organize.
Absolutely. Please organize your thoughts. Organize your dreams by organizing your thoughts and your efforts. Remember, how you perform depends on how well you're connected with your thoughts and your efforts are directed towards those thoughts. That makes so much difference to what plans you made, what dreams you dreamt. They are all possible, they're all convertible into reality only if you know what you are thinking, what you are dreaming is very much achievable, and you have the caliber and capacity to do it.
You know, before we sign up for today's students, we want to remind you that all those videos, if you have missed any slide, if you have missed any keyword, do not just panic. We are going to upload it on the YouTube channel of the CTF, so you can always go and check from there. Be in touch with your teachers. Keep showing your progress. How are you working? How you are going ahead and practicing. Thank you so much for being with us in this wonderful session.